All
Had
right.
to make sure the chat was going. Yep.
Hello.
Oh, it was over? We're good?
What's going on, big dog? Big dog?
Hey. I thought I had more time. Let me zip up really quick.
No, there's no time. We've got to go. We're a guest down, unfortunately, which is a shame.
Yeah.
We've still got the good one though.
the epic one, the knowledgeable one.
No, I don't know what's happened. He's obviously something's come up. Not like him to not turn up. So it is what it is. What can you do? Hello, everybody watching live. I hope you're all right.
And hello, all of you watching the VOD, since we've been leaving the VODs up, and I see lots of people are watching those. So thanks for joining live and watching the post show.
Yeah. I don't even check how many people are watching watching it after it goes off. I just assumed it gets lost in the ether of YouTube and never to be seen again. That's quite dodgy, really, to say, by the end of the show we're normally pretty tanked up.
Yeah, there's a couple comments, and it's usually just for the first 30 minutes of the show. And nobody's ever referencing anything 4 hours in, so I don't think anybody watches the whole thing.
No, that's fine. And if they do, they're the real fans. They're the ones who really enjoy it, and they'll watch whatever we say, so it's fine. They know that we're childish. Do you want to tee us off? Tell everyone what's going on. Do the general housekeeping while I sit here and. I'll be honest with you, I've already set everything up, so I've got nothing to do. So it's just being lazy, really.
I'll give it a try. Add in what you feel you need to add in, like you always do. Like I need to tell you that. We've got, 8 days, I think, now until Season of Discovery launches. It's on the 30th. Yeah, so, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. And there's, 9 classes in Classic. Only 8 days left, so we're going to try to cover all 9 classes in the next 8 days. So we've got tonight, all Druid, the best class. We got the most time to cover Druid, and then over the next couple days, over the weekend especially, 2 classes per day, kind of, randomly. We're skipping a day, we're coming back a day. You've got the notes on what days those are. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah. I tell you what,
something like that.
Shall we just full on, assuming all the guests turn up, unlike you, Grays, for motherfucking days. I'll just throw it out there. He's the one who's not turned up. Assuming everybody else turns up, though, we've got, like Go was saying, today we've already got our group, so we've got a guest that I'm sure if you play Druid, you will know who he is. So soon, TM. Saturday, we're doing Warrior and Priest with a big Willy, which is going to be a lot of fun. Always good to catch up with Willy. On Monday, I just love Willy. Don't we all? We all just love a little bit of Willy, to cheer us up. So that's literally just made me think about my favourite cider as well. The Dickens, the Australian cider.
Oh yeah, I think I know.
Yeah, it's amazing. If none of you have tried Dickens, yeah, it's an Australian cider. It's really nice. And my missus...
I like to wake up with a Dickens cider.
Yeah, my missus loves Dickens cider. Literally all day and night. That's all she wants to drink. Yeah. She's just constantly whining for Dickens cider. But anyway, Monday the 27th, we've got Paladin and Shaman. And that's with Griftin and Mr. Sully. So Griftin ordinarily would be Druid, but he's apparently going Shaman for Season of Discovery and been doing a lot of theory crafting and, drinking his Dickens and really taking it serious. Then on Tuesday, we're doing Warlock and Mage with Crix. And we're starting an hour early on Tuesday for the Crix episode because I feel it might go on quite a while. Mage and Warlock, there's a lot to talk about. So, and then the last one is going to be Rogue and Hunter, which will be on Wednesday, which is going to be the day before release. And that's with Sarf, big man Sarf himself. And then we've got a post-launch podcast that still needs a bit of planning, but it looks like Geordie's going to come on for that. So we've got some really cool guests coming on over the next couple of weeks, so make sure you don't miss any. But today is all Druid. Take it away, Go. Sorry for taking over. I just had the notes in front of me.
No, you're good. That was perfect. Thank you. What else do we have? We meme all the time that it's an hour show. These episodes, we're planning on keeping them to a reasonable length, an hour and a half. something like that, not 4 or 5 hours carrying on the whole night. So it's going to be more informational based. We're still going to joke around, of course, but we're not doing like the icebreakers, the cards, or nothing like that. It's just going to be we're hopping on here, getting our guests on, and telling you all the runes, all the specs for PvP, PvE, some gear you might be interested in getting at level 25 that we know about. There's still going to be brand new gear that is going to come out. So yeah, some leveling tips, all of the above. Anything and everything to do with getting to level 25 and blasting out Black Fathom Deeps.
Absolutely. And as always, if you've got any questions, we try and answer all questions anyway, but if you want to get your questions answered quick, any super chats that go to obviously support the podcast, keep us actually doing it, then, any super chats, bang a question in. There's going to be things happening over, the next week or so. So your questions, if you've got any that you'd like to direct at the devs, could find their way to that. And that goes for the same. I always ignore the people that are not watching live go, so that's a really good shout, actually. So any of you that are watching back as well, throw a super thanks. So, there's a super thanks button. It hardly ever gets used. In fact, I don't think I've had a single super thanks on a video for a year, maybe. So, throw a super thanks with a question that you'd like to sort of direct to the devs and make it a good one. You know what I mean? You don't want anything like rude.
What are the level caps?
Yeah. When's it launching? Yeah, cool. All right, well, that's the general housekeeping. So, yeah, like Go said, we're going purely informational. That's what we want to do. So we'll leave this there. We'll park it and let's get on to bringing the guest on. Do you want to introduce him? Or her? I've never asked this person what their pronoun is. So maybe we should...
I think they go by Furry Sir. I don't. They can correct me when they get on, but I think Furry Sir is what he goes by. Or they go by.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some scruff. He's got a little. There's no like designs in it like a druid has, like a feral druid has, but a fellow guildie of ours, a fellow participant in the show from previous episodes, multiple time guest. What hardcore enthusiast. You might find him in a cave near you. Usually the first cave available because he hasn't gotten past level 15, I don't think. But he's trying. Great hardcore player.
This is literally reminding me. Have you seen Rocky IV, where Apollo Creed's being introduced when he's about to fight Ivan Drago, and it's like the King of Sting, the Master Destroyer, and he's like, have you got any more nicknames? And he's like, we're almost done. We're almost done, Stallion.
The Colossus of Clout.
So let's just bring him on now because I'm bored already. Hi! Look at him perched nicely behind his desk there as well.
The homie table slam. Welcome, brother.
I'm not a fucking furry, dude.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know. I took a shot in the dark. Thanks for clearing that up.
A couple of things you said, I was like, I thought this was supposed to be like a good intro. Like,
I did my best.
Hasn't got past level 15 in K. Is a pretty good player, though. I
swear. He knows his stuff.
But how are you, furry Sir Table?
Starting zone, that's for sure.
You're going to have a rank in our Season of Discovery Guild, and it is literally just going to be called Furry Sir. That is your rank. Furry Sir Table Slam.
All right, looking for guild for Sod.
Right. Hang on. The guild's going to be called Brother, though, remember?
Yeah, brother.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Got my coffee.
He was doing better before my intro. Yeah.
Excited for Season of Discovery? This is the first Season of Discovery episode you've been on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. It's like, I mean, the devs even said it like at BlizzCon. Like part of the reason why people like Classic so much is like the, that feeling of like mystery or whatever about the world, and like finding things for the first time, or whatever. And that's literally what this is. So it's like it's still vanilla WoW, but it's like with new stuff for the first time in 20 years. Like there hasn't been new stuff to find out, like new stuff to optimize around, new theory crafting to do. Like that's the part that's most exciting to me, is all the new theory crafting that we're going to be able to do all as we level and at 60 as well.
Yeah, cool. And your plans, Druid, I assume?
Yeah, Druid, Feral, definitely. I don't want to, like, there's people that are like kind of going to be chasing like flavor of the month stuff, but like there's so much we don't know. We don't know like 98% of what we're getting. So like it seems kind of like premature to me to decide whether, you know, what you're like. The only thing that I can do is like, oh, I definitely want to stick with Druid. That way it's like, you know, I'm not going to like abandon it at any point, because at any point it could become turbo busted, and at any point it could become nerfed to the ground. But like either way, like how am I going to find out whether it's like actually good if I'm like splitting time playing something else? So I'm going to level like probably 3 or 4 Druids.
Oh, God.
Finally, somebody just like me. Everybody else is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to main this and that and over here, over there. I'm going to be Alliance, I'm going to be Horde. And I'm like, nah, dude, I've got like 5 or 6 Druids planned.
Yeah, I'm going to do 2, so I'm not going to be quite on your level, but I have got, obviously, other classes that I'm at. Well, I'm going to end up with all the classes, I feel, at this point, but not all at 60. There's no way I'm going to make them all to 60, but certainly for the 25 bracket, I'll be doing several. But I'm going to have 2. I'm going to have a Feral on whichever side, and then a Resto, actually, on the other side. So
One of them's definitely going to be a gathering alt for me, because like...
Same, yeah.
For like skinning and herbalism specifically, it's like the best farming alt. Like you can stay in travel form the whole time.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout.
Just roam around like Fellwood or something like that, getting some of those good herbs for the higher level consumes, and also skinning stuff, because it's like mostly beasts. It's like beasts and like some furbolgs and demons, but like a lot of stuff is skinnable there. So it's, you know, getting salves for Songflower and stuff like that. Like I'll probably be spending a lot of time in Fellwood.
Yeah, so you're going to have a lot of time spent on your gathering alt more than your main, probably.
I mean, maybe, like, with all the preparation, it looks like, because, you know, world buffs are back. We're getting an extra world buff with Black Fathom stuff. Like, I don't know, it's gonna be like it was in Vanilla Classic, but just probably an extra level, because we're gonna have Chrono Boon from the start this time as well. So it's like, you know, sure, I'll be spending a lot of time on the gathering alt, but I'll also be like actually playing the main too, because like once you get world buffs, you can just boon them and then keep playing, doing whatever.
Yeah. And Kohu, just to answer you, yeah, I'm flipping backwards and forwards at the moment, and I need to just make my mind up. I'm on a daily basis. I'm saying I'm going to be I'm going to be a mage healer, and then the next day I'm like, I need to be a ret paladin. I'm going to have both, and they're going to be my first 2 characters to 25. It's just which one I do first. And what I was saying, so a lot of people have said to me, including Ernest, he's like, man, just shut the fuck up. You're going to do both. Like, why? Like, he must be sick of it, because every time I talk to him, I'm like, what do I do? Do I do mage or do I do paladin? But for me, I actually think it's really important which one I do first, because the first one is going to feel more special. The first one is going to be, oh my God, it's launch night. Everything's new. Oh, this is crazy. And then the second one's going to be like, cool, I just want to get to 25 as quick as possible. I already know where all the runes come from now. You know, it's not going to be as fun. So I'm sort of I am torn. But I feel like I'm probably going to end up mage, because I think I'll be able to do a lot more special shit as a mage. You know, like AoE farming as a like healer arcane spec with regen on myself while, you know, arcane exploding loads of mobs. Like, that'll be fun. Being able to just literally try and top damage meters as the healer and be like, if they die, that's their problem. Like, they should have used a potion. They should have bandaged. You know, if my healing's not good enough for them, then, you know. So, whereas Paladin, obviously, I got Shadowmourne last night. Let's go. Got very drunk as well, and didn't really get to use it to its full potential, unfortunately. I struggled being able to see the screen.
You did get a 99 while you were absolutely plastered. And I was like, how is this dude even able to type on his keyboard right now? I'm like, how did he 99 this fight?
It was Sindragosa, wasn't it?
It might have been.
Oh, 99. I got 99 on Rotface as well, and whatever else. But yeah, I was smashed. Like, yeah, Sindragosa, I've got like, no idea. But still, yeah, that was fun. But do you know what I mean? There's not that much difference. That's what I'm getting at. If I go like Ret, I'm going to have Crusader Strike. I'm going to have Judgment. All right, might be able to Seal Twist, and the seals only last 30 seconds. Still going to have Divine Storm. I don't know. It's not as exciting. Whereas Mage is like, oh my God, you know, we've never seen this before. This is going to be meant. Yeah, it's Mage. I've made my mind up. Thanks. We can end the podcast now. See ya.
I say I feel like the first character you roll should be the one that you're most comfortable with, because with all the new stuff that's going on, like you don't want to be hit with new stuff for whatever class you're playing. If you're playing something comfortable that you're familiar with, then anything new that pops up, it'll be easier to handle it, because you'll know how it fits in with everything. Like if it's a class you're still sort of like learning or whatever, if like I've never played a hunter really past like. I've never done the pet quest on a hunter. Like that's as far as I've gotten a level 10 so I could make a bank alt to disenchant stuff in Vanilla Classic. That's all I did with that hunter. So I've never actually like played one. Poor choice for first character for Sod. Like if you've never played the character or the class before, probably not the best idea unless you already know like everything about all the stuff before having played it. Like if you did a ton of research, maybe I guess it could be okay. But like with how much new stuff there's going to be, it definitely makes sense to have a pretty firm grasp of whatever class that you're starting with. So when you come across that new stuff, it's just easier to work it in.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, for me, yeah, obviously it doesn't really matter what class. I think about vanilla and all I see is classes pressing one button. It's going to feel pretty different for everyone on it. So, yeah, a mage is not a class that I've played particularly serious outside of RAF private servers. So it's gonna feel different, but it's still familiar enough. I've leveled tons of mages. My problem is I've leveled loads and loads of everything: warriors, rogues, shamans, but they just normally get to 60 and that's it. As in like even if we're talking RAF, like I leveled a shaman like 2 weeks ago. I got to 59. I've not logged on it since. And I was like, I got to Outland and was like, man, I'm fucking bored of that now. I'll do something else. But anyway, let's talk about druids. So there's a couple of things that I would like to touch on, and I've even put it in the notes. But I don't think we should, because I think it's a little bit too spoilery.
That's fine.
And that's kind of why I haven't even made a video about it. And people were DMing me like, "Man, have you seen this?" Like, and then I sat there to record and was like, "It's a little bit too close to the mark for my likings in terms of spoilers." So doing it on a podcast when people have not got an option, I could say, right, there's spoilers, leave. But I don't want you to leave, and I don't want to give spoilers, so we'll leave that. But what we can talk about is the 1.15, like the changes to the runes and stuff like that. But I don't want to talk about the items. So, so let me. I don't know if this is going to work, by the way, but we will find out. It did. Boom! Look at that, man. We look almost professional. Oh wow!
Step 1: learn how to read.
Right, so there's been some data mine stuff yesterday. You might have seen it already, Actually, I'll tell you what table. Do you want to talk us through the Druid ones? We'll just talk about a class each. I mean, we could literally just talk about Druid and move on, but there's not really that many.
Talking about just the rune changes?
Yeah, so like for Druid, with wild growth now being up to 40 yards and...
Yeah, it should make it a little easier, because like before, the way that was before, the previous one was 15 yards, so it's kind of like you had to be with your group, which is like a lot of fights in vanilla, as I'm sure a lot of us remember, there's like a range stack and then the melee stack, or like if it's like a loose spread or whatever, like it's harder to hit people with stuff like that when you're spread. So the 40-yard thing is a good change for wild growth, because it's just a greater chance that the maximum amount of players will be able to be affected by it. And they also they increased the base calculation in there. Like you can kind of see like there's the 40 yards and then there's that little green 34 there. It used to be 14. So they upped the base amount for the heal as well. And if you actually click the ability, if you go to the ability, they changed the spell power coefficient too. They increased the spell power coefficient of wild growth.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So the spell power coefficient got a little bit of a boost. The range got a little bit of a boost. So that's pretty nice. So that should just help out Resto players a little bit too, because like wild growth is a pretty powerful spell. It's expensive, but it's powerful. So it's like it makes sense that they wanted to increase the range, because if you're going to be spending that much mana to cast it, you want to make sure that's hitting everybody. It has the best chance it can to hit everybody. So that's, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is the target player's party members. So this isn't a raid heal. Yeah, this is only like a group of 5 people that wild growth hits. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, so it will be a party.
in Wrath it's raid. Like, I mean, Wild Growth is from Wrath. That was when the ability was introduced. So like, and it's can hit anybody from any party in Wrath. But of course, with vanilla and even in a TBC, a lot of these buffs are party only. So it's like it'll be interesting to see how they handle stuff like this, where it's like it was first designed to be able to hit anybody, and now going to the vanilla version where it's only hitting members of your party. It's going to be interesting to see how people arrange groups in raids and stuff like that to accommodate the healing. Like, it'll be interesting to see like a Resto Druid maybe in the tank group or in the melee group, which would be super weird because normally you would want like a physical group to be all physical so they could share all the buffs equally and stuff. So like to have like a Druid in there.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't need to, would you? Because it's the targeted player. So you're if I was in group 2 but you was in group 1 and I healed you, it's going to be your party. That's how I rate it. Yeah.
Okay, I see that now. Yeah, target players, party members. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So,
but the what I just said.
But the thing that is interesting, yeah, which maybe you even know, I'd imagine both of you guys have played vanilla, like classic era and that more than me. If you've got a group of hunters, will all of their pets be classed as being in their party? So you could, like, if you had 5 hunters in a group and you use Wild Growth, would that actually heal all 5 hunters and all 5 of their pets? Because it's not got a cap of players. Do you know what I mean? Like, Wild Growth ordinarily has got a cap of players. So it could be the meta to put pet classes all in the same groups. So, yeah, heals like this where they heal an entire party. They heal the hunters' pets and that, and warlocks' pets as well. I don't know if that's how it works. I'm just throwing it out there.
Especially because hunters in Era, I don't think have like the AoE damage reduction to them, so the pets do take a lot of damage. So they're going to need heals from somebody probably.
Yeah. So just an interesting thought, something worth thinking about when you're organising your groups, even in BFD. If you've got a hunter and a warlock, and you want them both in the same group, so you're maximising the output of Wild Growth. But again, I'm just speculating. Like, who knows at this point? We'll have to see how it works. But Stark said not unless they change something, because in vanilla, hunter pets didn't get heals unless they were targeted or mend pet. Okay.
And the is it down below too? The base mana cost got increased on it. I don't see it up in that first little section. I don't know if I see it.
It's in the bottom part.
Oh, the very bottom.
Yeah, that's where I saw the spell power coefficient change too.
Yeah,
spell power coefficient went from 0.053 to 0.061, so 0.008 increased the spell power coefficient, and the base value got upped from 14 to 34, and then the cost was changed from 23% to 28% of base mana.
Which 28% is crazy, when you think about the level 25 bracket, when your base mana is pretty much going to be what you've got. You're going to get a little bit more, obviously, from intellect and stuff, but realistically, by the time you get to 25 and you've not actually started farming bis, you're not going to have that much extra intellect.
Yeah, unless you stack int gear, like if you have like of the owl stuff or whatever. But like, I think Go mentioned it during, I don't know if it was during a stream or during the video, but like Alliance has higher base, like Night Elves have higher base int than Tauren do. So any spell that's base mana, so all spells are more expensive for Alliance than they are for Horde Druids. Because your base mana is bigger.
For Tauren, it should be 232 intellect, because Tauren has a 829 base mana. And then Night Elf has 5 extra int, so they have 904, which 904 times, what is that, 0.28 would be something. I can't do it.
It'd be a number. It'd be a number that's smaller. No, that's bigger.
253. So, yeah, 250 mana for one of these casts. At 25. I haven't checked like 40 if there's a 5 int difference all the way up to 60 and whatnot, but yeah, 225 if you've got a 2k mana pool.
I'm already. If I was to, I can't move that. I got to get it off the screen. Go. Sorry. If I happen to interview the devs, if there is something about quality of life changes that would be mentioned, and it's not just even that. That is one of them about pets taking the reduced AoE damage in raids. But there's other things like rogues, poisons. What was the other one specifically? Paladin blessings. There's a few. I mean, rogues, poisons is a big one. 40 charges when you're going to have mutilate and envenom. Like, literally, you're going to be reapplying poisons like every 15, 20 seconds during a fight. It's going to be so ridiculous, no one will do it.
It's either that or you have to have a bunch of extra weapons in your bag so you can swap to them once they run out on
once
your
the
primary
poison
weapons.
runs out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have 6 cruel barbs.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, next one's what we got. I don't like this next one, actually, Table.
The Skull Bash one?
Yeah.
I think it kind of makes sense. Like, I see more of a PvP change. Because, like, right now, like, if you're PvPing on a Druid, it makes sense to get Feral Charge as your interrupt for PvP. Like, even if you're, like, going into Battlegrounds or whatever as a healer, a lot of Druids will spec into the Feral Tree for Feral Charge just for PvP. So all this is really doing is making it so that you don't need to do that to get an interrupt. You can just get Skull Bash, and it'll do a charge and an interrupt at the same time. So it kind of makes sense that they made it share a cooldown, because like what are the odds that somebody is going to be specking into both of these because of the charge part or because of the interrupt part? Like, Feral Charge already acts like an interrupt, so does Skull Bash. So it's like, it's basically the same. It's almost the same ability. The difference mainly is that Feral Charge has the root, and it has a longer range, and that's kind of it. So like, if you normally would be specking into the Feral Tree for Feral Charge for PvP, now you don't need to do that anymore. You can just get the glyph, or the rune, I should say.
But it's only so my thoughts on it are completely different to yours. Like, I personally would remove the interrupt effect from Feral Charge and not have them share a cooldown, because it's only 13 yards. You're not going to use Skull Bash. Like, sometimes, I've used Skull Bash hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times on a private server that I've been playing, obviously. And there's very few occasions that I would use it for the 13-yard charge. Literally, especially when you think about some bosses' hitboxes, their hitbox is like bigger than 13 yards for some of them, where you don't even need to use it. And it's only a 10-second cooldown. It's meant to be an interrupt. I know they're trying not to touch talents and stuff. I get that. But for me, if they're adding something that completely clashes with an existing talent, they should change one of them. And I think getting rid of Feral Charge's interrupt and having it as purely just a charge. That's all it does. It charges. I just think would make sense. Because then it makes life difficult as well, don't it? Like, then you've really got to think. Skull Bash could have to be used on certain fights.
I mean, yeah, a big difference for me between the two is Skull Bash, you can be in cat form. And
yeah, there's no Feral Charge cat in vanilla.
It requires 10 rage if you are in bear form, and then Feral Charge is only 5 rage, but you can't use it in cat form. So, like, I'd want to use the cat one, I think. So, yeah, like, Skull Bash just seems way better than Feral Charge, other than the range. Shorter cooldown, 25 energy, that's nothing. A 2-second interrupt, I guess, instead of a 4-second interrupt. But, yeah, faster cooldown.
Yeah.
But I was wanting to get Skull Bash as a boomy, and it just doesn't look like I can make that work. But Feral Charge was just out of the picture. But Skull Bash is still kind of out of the picture, too, because the rage cost of it.
I guess, like, you kind of think of it a different way, too, like, to touch on, like, I mean, I don't want to, like, get into, like, too deep into warrior stuff, but, like, Shield Bash and Pommel share a cooldown. They have different cooldowns, though, but when you use one, the other one goes on cooldown. So, like, it could just be a similar thing where it's like you have multiple ways to interrupt, but you can't use them back to back. Like, a warrior could not be in Berserker stance, pummel, and then go to battle stance, put on the shield, and then be able to Shield Bash right away. Like, they're on cooldown from each other.
Yeah.
So, like, it could just be something like that. Like, I could see why it could become a problem if people were able to just, like, zip around, cat form, Skull Bash, bear form, Feral Charge immediately. Like, I could see how that could potentially cause some issues.
Yeah.
But, like, also, like, 25 energy, like, we're back to the tick system now with vanilla. 25 energy is a full tick plus part of another tick of energy. So it's like you have to wait for you use Feral or Skull Bash in cat form. You have to wait 4 seconds to recover to be in the positive for energy at that point. Like if you've only got 25 energy and you use Skull Bash, you're at 0 and you have to wait 4 seconds before you can put up a mangle, or 6 seconds before you can shred again, like stuff like that.
Would you like to see the energy system actually change to the Wrath version of energy?
No, because then it's for sure that there's going to be no power shifting. Like the whole point of power shifting is to, shift right before a tick lands. Like that whole thing. Like power shifting would be completely dead if they changed the energy system to the Wrath system.
Is that not a good thing?
I liked power shifting. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed power shifting. And like when I saw that, there was the rune that was going to be the Savage Roar rune and stuff. When that was out, I was like, oh man, like Sod Feral is going to basically be like Wrath Feral combined with Vanilla and TBC Feral. Like I guess TBC Feral would be the closest analog because Mangle existed in TBC as well. So like to have Mangle and Savage Roar and the tick system power shift with Wrath abilities and stuff, that's like the perfect combination of the two iterations of power of Feral that I have the most experience playing, and it just sounded like a really fun combo. So it'd be cool to keep it as the tick system so that we could power shift still.
Yeah, that's fair. I say I'm quite looking forward to the change in pace and doing power shifting again myself. So yeah, but I see the upsides for both systems, and I like both systems. I always said I couldn't wait to see the back of power shifting until it went, and then I was like, actually, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
it's more the things that you're forced to do to be able to to be able to power shift. Feeling forced to use a level 40 helm, having to. Well, I mean, taking Furon, that's fine, but if they bake power shifting into a future rune where you don't need to use Wolf's Head helm, that would probably make me very happy.
Do you want to touch on the rune options for that slot? Like, does this make Skull Bash weaker and Savage Roar more appealing to ferals? To where like PvP and PvP, it might make more sense to just get Savage Roar instead?
I mean, if you're PvPing, I guess it makes it a more difficult decision, I suppose. If you're PvPing as feral, you're probably still going to take Savage Roar anyway. If it's PvE, like Skull Bash isn't even on your radar at all. Like if you have to give up Savage Roar to be able to interrupt, somebody else should interrupt. Like no one else would have to give up something as big as Savage Roar to be able to interrupt, because like rogues have kick baseline, warriors have pummel baseline, non-tank shamans have earth shock baseline. Like there's plenty of options for interrupts other than a feral significantly nerfing their damage to be able to interrupt.
Yeah, I just want to point out as well there, Nero. Yeah, in this podcast, when we're talking about stuff, we don't really... We're not just focusing on level 25. As in, I truly... From things I've heard, we ain't going to be at level 25 that long. Like, 6 to 8 weeks, I would say, absolute maximum. So, focusing loads and loads of effort into level 25, I'm looking much further ahead than that. So when we're talking about feral during this video, we will be mentioning MCP, we'll be mentioning Wolf's Head Helm, options at level 60 potentially removed because you're using Wolf's Head Helm. Do you know what I mean? It's not like level 25 is going to come and go in such a short space of time that, we need to look at the bigger picture. I just thought I'd just throw that out, just so everyone's clear, just in case anyone's like, what? Why are they talking about Wolf's Head Helm?
I mean, also, like, people seem to keep forgetting, too, that, like, shapeshifting is expensive at low levels. It's expensive until 60, basically. Like, until you have enough talent points where you can put points in a natural shapeshifter, like, it's a lot of mana to shapeshift. So, like, power shifting isn't even a thing until super high levels anyway. Even at 40, even, like, at 40, if Wolf's Head stays in the game in its current state and we can equip it at 40, we probably still won't be doing much power shifting. We'd have to like self-innervate, chug mana pots, use dark and demonic runes, like whatever. Like we'd have to do like dark and demonic runes aren't even really going to be obtainable. You'd have to have like a whole raid group to go farm them because everything that drops them is way higher level. Like to be able to kill it at 40, you would literally need a whole raid group to go farm dark and demonic runes for why? Like power shifting won't be a thing until super high levels anyway. It certainly won't be a thing in 25. Like, it's, I don't know, people are excited for power shifting to come back. I'm excited for it too, but like, we're not going to be power shifting in 25. It's too expensive to power shift.
Can we also appreciate the fact, so Nero mentioned Tiger's Fury, and I thought really good point to actually talk about Tiger's Fury. Obviously, we're getting the Wrath version of Tiger's Fury as well. So
it's sort of like the Wrath and Kata version mixed together, because it's got the energy return from the Talented Wrath version, but also it has the damage increase from the Kata version.
Yeah. So 15% damage
increase instead of static damage increase.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. You know, that's another 60 energy every 30 seconds, which, yeah, use it directly before a tick, and you basically save the power shift every 30 seconds. You know, like, that's massive.
It's also one of those things that you can sort of like time out your, like, by that time, because like it sounds like we're only going to have 3 runes available at 25, and the Tiger's Fury rune didn't seem like it was included with the ones we'll have available at 25. So the Tiger's Fury rune I would not expect to be able to have until later levels anyway, but that 15% damage increase on there is important as well, because if you've got, you know, if you're at 3 combo points or 4 combo points and you're ready to put up a fresh rip, you Tiger's Fury rip before that 15% damage, you can snapshot that rip. So it's one of those abilities that you can sort of strategically use during your rotation, not just for the energy gain, but also to snapshot bleeds.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a rune. I think it's actually just going to be Tiger's Fury, no?
It seemed like it was a rune. Like, it was included with all the rune effects. Like, the page that I saw it on, it was like included with all the rune effects.
Yeah, 100%. It could be a rune that's modifying it. I actually looked at it and just looked at it as a
or something.
Yeah, you 100% could be right. I just looked at it and thought that's just gonna be Tiger's Fury. You know, they've just changed how it works, but yeah, could be a rune that transforms it.
I mean, what Justin said. I mean, that's why the nerf. Wait, no, wrong one. I mean, there's a number of runes that massively affect raid mana regen, so you got to think about that. I know it was the Shaman one gives raid-wide mana return.
Seal of the Martyrdom as well.
That got buffed a little bit, I think, further down in the notes, but yeah, so like we might be getting extra mana back, kind of like Wrath right now. There's Revitalize, and that helps my mana a lot, and I definitely feel when it's not there. And I feel like when I don't have Revitalize, it feels more like classic. So hopefully, yeah, more mana regen even for Boomy.
Yeah, so Seal of the Martyrdom was actually was buffed as well. So yeah, I think they're going heavy in on giving people mana back. Let me just find it quickly. Yeah, it's giving... Oh, that's where you lose health. 40 yards. Yeah, members win 40 yards each gain mana equal to 10% of the damage you take from this seal. So that was buffed from 2%, I believe. Yeah, 2%. I mean, literally buffed 5 times, you know, the amount of mana that they're going to be giving with Seal of Martyrdom. So that is pretty hot
too, though, so that you're going to take less damage from the seal, but the mana return is greater. So it's like, it seems like they're trying to make it the same, or like it's relatively equivalent without the paladin taking so much damage.
Hang on, no, I thought you take more damage. You lose health equal to 10% of the damage inflicted. It was apparently 2%.
Right, but it's only single target now. It's not.
Yeah, it's only single target.
It's just one target.
Yeah, it's not cleave anymore. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, interesting. But it does seem like, you know, when you look through all of these, it looks like they're trying to help a couple of things. Mana for people, and actually healers got a lot of changes here, where and none of them that I saw were negative changes. The only one I didn't like is you can't bubble DSAC, but we can't bubble at 25, obviously, but not being able to bubble DSAC sucks a little bit, but then you would lose out on the 10% extra damage or healing from it anyway.
Yeah, some of these changes look like they're they have an internal testing team, of course. Some of these changes seem like their testing team is not playing level 25 stuff anymore. Some of this stuff sounds like they're already testing level 40 stuff. Because like some of the stuff wouldn't be relevant until that level anyway. So clearly they have some sort of internal testing team that is beyond level 25 at this point, and they're encountering other issues that they're dealing with at level 40, and they're trying to get ahead of things while also remaining relatively balanced for level 25 as well. Like at level 25, mana is going to be an issue for everybody. So like they can't be too heavy-handed with some of the mana return stuff to affect level 25, because it'll quickly snowball and get out of control at the higher levels.
Yeah, and the shamanistic rage one was an interesting change as well in terms of mana. So yeah, the party. Does it say party or does it say rage? Your party members, yeah. So your party members also receive 10% of the mana you gain, and that's only a 1 minute cooldown. It's not going to be mass amounts of mana, but still decent. But that now we are talking party wide, so having a shaman in each group of your casters with shamanistic rage could be useful. Yeah, or swapping them in and out, whatever. But anyway, let's not worry about that. Let's talk more Druid. We won't go through all of these changes because we do want to keep the episode relevant, and the relevancy of the episode is all Druid. So where do you want to start, guys? Do you want to should we have a quick look through the runes and sort of what situations we'd use them in? Thoughts on, as Feral, what would we use? Boomy, what would we use? Just do a bit of an overview of everything and then maybe dig a little bit deeper.
We could talk about some talent stuff too, because at 25 we're going to be pretty limited with what we're going to have available. So we have to like our talent build at 25 is probably going to be a lot different from what a normal leveling build would be, and what we would have at 40 even. Just quickly, just off rip for ferals. A lot of ferals are talking about going for Omen of Clarity, which means we're going to be 15-5-0. So technically there's way more points in balance than in feral. So we're technically balanced druids, but we're in cat form, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Melee balance.
That is the spec, absolutely, at level 25 as a feral. That is the spec that I do. And honestly, I wouldn't care what anybody said. If people were no, it's absolutely better to go, all points in feral, or, pick up Fure or whatever. No way. 10% physical damage and Omen of Clarity, and you're still getting the 5 rage off of your Mangle. Off of your Mangle. No,
yeah,
because it does. Yeah, anything that affects more affects Mangle, don't it? So yeah.
I did an outline, like a combat outline of what the feral rotation would look at 25, and I did it for Omen Rush and for Feral Rush with 1 point in improved shred. And I outlined them both to see at what point, at how many ticks of energy do you need to cast each thing, et cetera, energy cost of stuff, how many combo points you're gonna get from that stuff, and whatever. And the timeline looks almost identical for the Omen Rush version versus the Feral Rush version. The times that you're applying Savage Roar, the times that you're getting to certain amounts of combo points, when you need to refresh Mangle, all that stuff is almost exactly the same. So it's just a no-brainer to just rush Omen anyway, because every once in a while, one of those shreds is going to be free, and you're going to have more combo points. You won't have to refresh Savage Roars early, et cetera, et cetera. So it just, even just giving the benefit of the doubt to see what it would be like to go Feral Rush, it's going to be overall more efficient. Because with 1 point in improved shred, it's only decreasing the energy cost of shred by 6. So every 5th shred, you can do 1 energy tick sooner than you would have otherwise. So it's but overall, it doesn't make enough of a difference to affect your rotation. Sure, you get a shred early, but what does that matter if you now have to wait an extra tick for your Savage Roar? You know what I mean? It's a wash.
So I wouldn't have even gone improved shred, actually. If I was going to go deep feral, I'd have put 1 point in Blood Frenzy. I know the crit is going to be very low, the amount of crit that we're actually going to have, but yeah, a bit like Omen of Clarity. Occasionally you're going to get an extra combo point.
Shred, specifically because of the fact that the energy cost reduction of shred, it basically won't matter. So at that point, improved shred isn't the play. If you're going to go deep feral, if you're going to feral rush, yeah, you would probably put that point into Blood Frenzy.
Yeah, but I still think it's going to feel so much better. Like you said, occasionally getting that Omen of Clarity proc, you get a free shred. That's going to feel so much better. So yeah. What about Boomy? Go.
Let me do one more question here for that last point. Predatory strikes, you would get 50% of your level in melee attack power, so you'd get 17.5 attack power. So I guess that's not worth it to have a slight boost in attack power.
You'd get 12 and a half.
Level 25, it's 12.5 attack power.
What did I say?
17.5. Yeah.
It's basically.
Level 35. Yeah.
It seems like it would be easier and better to just get 6th strength from somewhere.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, no, it would definitely. For me, again, I do. I understand people saying the benefit of having 1 point improved shred, but I'd go Blood Frenzy, 100%. And again, I'm all about how, it would feel good when you like open up with a mangle, it crits, and you get 2 combo points straight off the rip to then be able to get a decent 2-point Savage Roar up straight away. Like that's gonna feel nice and smooth things out. But then I can't. I wouldn't be able to do Druid without Omen of Clarity. And again, it would change, like absolutely, because then when we're level 40 at the 40 bracket, and we're gonna have Wolf's Head Helm, you're then gonna make sure that you pick up Furor, and then you're gonna have enough points to actually get a decent amount of Feral. You'd be able to get both points in Improved Shred. You'd be able to get both points in Blood Frenzy. That changes the landscape completely, don't it?
Yeah, Improved Shred is much more of a big deal when you're power shifting.
Yeah,
because like having the energy cost reduction of Shred makes a bigger. You can shred twice per shift instead of just once, basically. By having 12 energy knocked off the cost of Shred, you can shred twice instead of only being able to shred once per shift. That's really where it matters. Like if you're not power shifting, Improved Shred basically doesn't really do anything because it's only 12 energy off. Like sure, your some of your shreds will come 1 tick earlier than they would, but like again, if you have to wait an extra tick for your finisher, then it's kind of a wash. Like over the course of a long fight, it'll make a bigger difference, but really all it's gonna come down to is like you have to do, I can't remember the exact number, but like the amount of shreds that you have to cast in order to have like gained an extra shred, and for that amount to be like significant, it's a lot.
Yeah.
If you're not power shifting, then those points in Improved Shred are much less valuable than if you are power shifting.
Yeah, it's a shame that you can't quite manage to get at level 40. You can't quite manage to get Omen of Clarity and Improved Shred and 5 in Furor. You're like literally 2 points over, which is a bitch. But without Improved Shred, you could get Omen of Clarity, Furor, and the other stuff in Feral. But nah, I think at that point,
again, at 40, like our mana pools aren't big enough to be able to power shift anyway. So the points in Furor are only important if you need to like go Bear and Feral Charge or something like that. So you need like an emergency interrupt. Like that's the only time it really actually matters. Or like, if you have to, at 40, we have Innervate. So like, if you're going to Innervate somebody, sure, maybe Furor would be nice to Innervate somebody and then not be at 0 energy when you go back to cat form, like stuff like that. But like for purposes of power shifting, like, Furor is kind of the power shifting talent. Like at 40, like in a boss fight, we're not going to be power shifting. We don't have enough mana. Like you could power shift maybe for the like opener, you could open with some power shifting, yourself, and then stop power shifting, I guess. But like, no, like the power shifting rotation as we think of it won't exist at 40. We don't have enough mana for it.
That's fair. So you could you'd be able to get Omen of Clarity still, 2 in Improved Shred, 2 in Blood Frenzy, and have 1 point left over still. Which, but yeah, let's not worry about that. So, go. Anything? I want to get a beer.
Yeah. No, okay, go for it. Yeah, so Boomy PvE, we are going to go all full balance. Like nothing in Feral that we can kind of like take advantage of. Feral Charge is nice. I used to want Feral Charge back in the day, but 25 we just can't get there, even for PvP. And especially now with that latest change with the charge Skull Bash, it's like, do I want to put points in Feral? Probably not. Resto even, we can get down to Insect Swarm, but that's about it. And we'd have to use 10 points just to get down there, then an 11th point, and then we only have 5 points to get Improved Wrath. So then we have no points in Improved Moonfire, no increased range. It just kind of gimps us to even go Resto for an additional dot. So yeah, balance for me, it's all Improved Wrath in the first tier. No point for Nature's Grasp for PvE because you can't root indoors. Same thing for the second tier. Improved Entangling Roots, can't root indoors, don't need it. So all 5 points Improved Moonfire. We don't melee, so no natural weapons. We're not really shifting. We don't have Moonkin form, no natural shapeshifter. And then the third tier kind of hurts. It's like we get Improved Thorns to help with tank threat. That's about it. And then Nature's Reach so that we can get down to the fourth tier. And then we have our last point where I'm just going to put it in Vengeance. I don't plan on casting Starfire and can't stun a boss. So that 3% chance to stun a target for 3 seconds could be used on trash, hopefully. One random trash throughout the raid. But yeah, I think our talent spec for balance is kind of no options.
Yeah.
But PvP, we could change it around a little bit. We still need our 5 points in Improved Wrath, but I have a point in Nature's Grasp. It's only 1 charge, which kind of sucks. In Wrath, it's 3 charges. Improved Moonfire, still need all 5 points there. Natural Shapeshifter for PvP has a lot more value than it does for PvE. So throw in 3 points in there. Still getting Nature's Reach. And then there's that 1 more point. So 5 Improved Wrath, 5 Improved Moonfire, 3 Natural Shapeshifter, 2 Nature's Reach. And I might put that last one in Improved Starfire because Star Surge should benefit from Improved Starfire. And having a Star Surge stun somebody would be kind of hilarious. It should have a 42-yard range too, so like I could Star Surge somebody from
Across the map.
super far away. Yeah, get a stun on them. Like it would be some clutch plays from having that little combination there.
So you would say for PvP and PvE, those two specs that we've just gone through, like there's not much wiggle room really either way.
Even PvP for Resto, like maybe if you're really planning on helping off heal, and then you could have another Insect Swarm. It's a pretty cheap cast, does decent damage. Maybe you get some reflection and get some mana regen too, because PvP mana is a lot more intense than PvE usually.
So what about picking up Improved Mark of the Wild for PvE? So having Improved Mark of the Wild, you're not going to have that 1 point in Vengeance.
Let me just see what rank of mark we're going to have. I think it'll be rank 3. It'll be rank 3 mark will be what we have. That's 105 armor and all attributes by 4.
so it's going to give like an extra 1.5 or something of stats.
Yeah,
it's 35% bonus from Int Mark of the Wild. So like for 105 armor, let me get a calculator up real quick. Like the stats is going to be like you'll get 1 extra stat. It'll be all attributes by 5 instead. That's pretty easy to figure out because you can't get fractions of stats or whatever. Yeah. The armor thing might be a little not as bad, I guess. So it'll be like 140 something armor instead of 105.
Probably not. Still not worth the 5 points.
141 armor. I don't know if they round up or round down. If they round up, it'll be 142 armor. It's 141.75 is the exact number. But like, I don't know. It just doesn't really seem that good. Like, In Mark of the Wild seems like a talent that you use to get further down the Resto tree if you don't need Furor. Like, that's the only other option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd prefer Furor over that. Yeah, if I was doing a PvP spec and I wanted to go Resto, I'd full Furor instead of Improved Mark of the Wild.
Even for PvE, like, the only real reason to take Improved Mark of the Wild is if you're a Resto Druid.
Yeah.
You need to take something to get further down the tree to get the actual Resto talents. Like, the only Druids that I could see ever putting points in Mark of the Wild are Resto Druids.
Yep, so we'll rely on the Resto Druids to do all the buffing. That's awesome. Perfect.
Yep. So they have a raid spot now because they have the BIS Mark of the Wild.
Yep. And for Resto, really, I mean, your options are pretty limited. You're going to get Improved Mark of the Wild, as we've discussed. I mean, Nature's Focus, Improved Healing Touch. Improved Healing Touch would be nice. I mean, Nature's Focus is nice as well, but whether you're going to need it at 25, doing BFD, debatable.
The thing is, though, like, I could see a lot of, like, so there. Well, I'm sure we'll start talking about runes soon, but like, there's like a couple of interesting sort of hybrid specs that'll be possible at 25, and one of them uses the glyph that makes Wrath free and gives a chance to make your next healing touch instant. If you're doing that like hybrid spec, you're not going to need Improved Healing Touch. Because like you can't, we're not a high enough level to get Nature's Swiftness anyway. So there's no real reason to put points into Imp Healing Touch unless you're going to be, if you think you're going to be hard casting Instant Touch like relatively frequently, and then every once in a while you just get a free one. I guess you could still put points into Imp Healing Touch, but like, I don't know. It's a tough one. It really depends on what the raid group is like.
I mean, I would probably go Living Seed, personally. Even though Living Seed's not that great, and you're not going to have that much crit, which, I'm not saying it's going to be that powerful, but even with Fury of the Storm Rage, like the healing touch is still going to cost. It's not a free healing touch, is it? It's just instant. So, you're going to be casting Wrath doing a bit of damage. I don't know.
I can see like Living Seed is sort of it's a similar as it is in Wrath, where like, sure, like you see every once in a while you'll see a Resto Druid with Living Seed, but typically those are going to be the Druids that are like healing tanks. Like if it's a Druid healing a tank, you'll see Living Seed. And that's like the main thing that'll make it, because like your healing spells that crit, because like Living Seed procs off of crit heals. So like a raid heal Resto Druid isn't usually going to be casting heals that can crit. Like regrowth is too expensive. You're basically spreading around rejuves and hitting the raid group with whatever group it is with wild growth.
Yeah.
Neither of those spells can crit, so Living Seed doesn't have a lot of value for raid healing Resto Druids. But if you're a tank healing Resto Druid, Living Seed does have some value, because you're basically, I don't know if you'll be using regrowth a lot, but you'll definitely be using healing touch.
Yeah, 100%. At which point you've then not really got any options anyway. Fury of Storm, if you're focusing on raid healing, Fury of the Storm Rage is just going to be what you take, just to throw out some Wraths, as and when you can. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you could do in the Resto tree, to be fair. Like, let's say you did go with that and you was like, right, I'm never going to hardcast Improve Healing Touch. I'm only going to use procs from Fury of the Storm Rage. Then you could just go all 5 in... all 5... Hang on, why is it not letting me put all 5 in there? Oh, hang on, I've gone further down. Let me just reset those. So yeah, you would just literally go 5 in Improve Mark of the Wild, 5 in Nature's Focus, 3 in Reflection. You got 3 points still left. I mean, threat generated, you're not really going to be bothered about.
Is Nature's Focus worth that much in PvE?
Well, you ain't really
reducing your like pushback.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you're raid healing, neither of those are particularly worth it. Yeah, it's whatever one you take is just to go further down the tree. Like, if you know you're rarely gonna hard cast Healing Touch because you're gonna use Fury or Storm Rage, then you're not gonna be hard casting. So you're not even gonna need Nature's Focus. So it's whichever one you want, really. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We got to consider too, like, so like some of the stuff we're talking about some level 25 stuff. We mentioned like Living Seed and whatever, and the crit heal thing, and like it's kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Feral, with like with Blood Frenzy. Like our crit's gonna be so low, like everybody's crit's gonna be so low that like relying on runes or talents that work off of crits, probably not the best idea to bank on that at level 25, considering how low everybody's crit is going to be. Like healers at 25 are going to be pumping intellect for bigger mana pools for more casts. There's not really a whole lot of gear that has like spell crit on it at 25. I mean, obviously Blizzard's going to be adding a bunch of new stuff. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there will be some gear like that available at 25 where we'll feel, relatively speaking, about as powerful as we would in a normal raid environment, given the circumstances. Like Living Seed proccing off of crits. How often are Resto Druids going to be casting spells that can crit in the first place? And then beyond that, how often are those crits going to even occur? Like,
yeah. I mean, so you could make an interesting spec, though, couldn't you? With using Fury to Storm Rage. So Ernest just said about improved Wrath. And that's a really good shout. Using Fury to Storm Rage, so your Wraths are free and you're casting them as fast as a Boomy would be. And then 12% is not that bad. That's not a bad chance to be proccing a free Healing Touch. So
it's like on average a free one every 6 Wraths.
Yeah. So it's not bad.
Yeah, about 7 or 8.
Yeah. But still, like, but then it still does make the next tier in Resto, like, fairly meaningless, again, because you're not going to hardcast Healing Touch, so you don't need that. So you'd probably still take Nature's Focus, just because maybe you'll use a regrowth at some point. I don't know. Maybe you will hardcast a Healing Touch. And then you've got 1 point left. You could just literally get 1 in Reflection. But that would be quite an interesting spec. 5-0-11.
1 in Insect Swarm, too, yeah.
Yeah, you can do
or you could take Insect Swarm, yeah.
Insect Swarm's like relatively cheap, but like, I don't know, the way that I see, like, it's such low damage at level 25 that I would see that more of like just to have a debuff the hit debuff on like a boss or something like that. Also, like, who knows? Like, one of the other things we don't really know about Season of Discovery yet is like in Season of Mastery they removed I think it's on the hardcore servers, they removed the debuff limit on bosses. So like in the classic vanilla problem is like taking up debuff slots. What's that gonna be like in SOD? Like, I don't think they've said much about that yet. Like,
they'll remove
the debuff limit?
Yeah, they'll remove
I think there was a tweet from Agron that said there's no debuff limit.
Yeah,
Okay,
it will be
cool, good.
removed. It would be ridiculous not to when
no
we're
worries
getting
on that then.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous not to when, like, you know, druids can potentially get some fire. You know, we got bloody like void plague for priests. You know, people are being given more debuffs. So to then go, sorry, you can't use them.
How would that be?
Yeah.
For them to add a bunch of stuff that adds debuffs to the targets and then not at least increase the debuff limit.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty troll.
Absolutely. Right. Anyway, so that's Resto. I mean, Feral Tank. You know, we could just touch on the talents because then we can start moving on to the runes, and we've actually spoke about all the specs. What would you do? That's like you tank all the time. For anyone who don't know, yeah, I mean, table tanks an unfortunate amount because we know you don't really want to be doing it.
I would take, the 5 points in ferocity. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer because we're likely going to be making pretty heavy use of maul. So having that cost less rage means more mauls, which means more threat, which is nice. I would probably also, it depends on, I didn't see many bear tanks on the alpha footage or the BlizzCon footage. So it was kind of hard to see what threat gen was looking like. So you may or may not need the points in Feral Instinct for the threat. So that's kind of like a question mark talent. Like, you might need it, you might not. It seems like everybody's going to be like super juiced on threat, so you might not even need points in the talent. You might want to go for the extra mitt from Thick Hide.
I'll be giving tanks improved thorns, so they'll have some extra threat.
Oh, yeah. What a team player!
So they don't have to spend those 3 points. I'll use 3 points of mine.
Well, let's make a best and worst case scenario. So let's say worst case scenario is we do need the 5 in Feral Instinct.
Yeah, so you chuck those points in there to get further down. You get a point in Feral Charge. You get the 3 points in Sharpened Claws for the extra crit, mostly so that you can gain access to Primal Fury. You throw a point just anywhere, really. Like, you could put a point into Brutal Impact, I guess.
One in Thick Hide?
Yeah, I would go 1 in Thick Hide just for the extra armor. Like, you could put a point in Brutal Impact. Depends on whether or not you're going to be tanking bosses or trash. Mm-hmm. If you're tanking trash primarily, the Brutal Impact might help because it's just an extra half a second stun. But generally, I think Thick Hide, you'd get a little more out of it, or even a point into Feral Aggression. If there's no warrior to apply Demo Shout, you could do Demo Roar instead, I guess.
We'll have Homunculi, don't worry. Homunculi will that's going to cover all of that. So an interesting thing would be, though, Table, like, and this would be something that you're going to be sad enough to do, which we know you will. Like, you can judge like everything as you go along. So let's say worst case scenario, you start with 5 in Feral Instinct, and then you're like, actually, I reckon I could afford to drop a couple of points. So you drop 2 out of Feral Instinct maybe, and put another 2 into Thick Hide, and then you'll find that threshold where you're like, actually, the extra 6% threat. That's all I need. That's really helping. So you could like sort of bounce between, eventually trying to max out Thick Hide as you get more gear and getting rid of Feral Instinct. I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's kind of the sort of tank conundrum. I don't know, that might be too strong a word. That's like the thing, the game within the game for tanks in vanilla was to have that balance between threat and mitigation, where you only need as much threat to stay above the DPS and make sure nobody rips off of you. Any threat past that is kind of like cool, like your aggro meter, your bar is way bigger, I guess. Like, cool, grats. Like, you didn't need any of that extra threat. You could have taken less damage instead and made the things a little easier for the healers. Like, if you can make sure that you have just enough threat to hold off everybody else, and then use the rest of those resources to have higher mitigation so the healers have less to worry about. You could potentially even drop a healer down, or instead of running, say like we're in a 10-man raiding environment, instead of running 2 full-time healers, you could run 1 full-time healer and a hybrid healer instead, get more damage out, the fights go quicker. Mm-hmm. So like little stuff like that, like that's facilitated by the tank taking less damage. So if you can balance those well enough, maybe you won't need all the points in Feral Instinct. You could go, only 2 points or 3 points and then put the rest in a Thick Hide. Stuff like that. But either way, the last talent you put into Primal Fury.
For sure. That's what I was looking at, yeah.
Yeah, the extra point in Primal Fury, well, the 1 point in Primal Fury will be, a must, especially when you are getting 6% crit just from talents anyway. So you're quite lucky, I suppose, as a Feral, if you go this deep in Feral, so specifically as a tank, because your crit is going to be actually a reasonable amount, even at level 25. But BLAZZINBOBBY said that Crix was out over aggroing Greys at the BlizzCon testing when he was tanking on a bear. But that guy's got nothing on table. I'm going to just slag Greys off the entire episode now for not turning up.
He can't even defend himself. It's not even fair.
He could have defended himself if he was here, couldn't he?
I think it depends too, because like there's certain things like when I'm sure like we'll end up talking about runes eventually, but like bears in particular have a little bit of an unfortunate decision to make in the glove slot, because the glove slot is where you have mangle and also lacerate, and lacerate does it puts a dot on the target. It's the lacerate that we got in TBC and that we continue to have after that. But the initial damage of lacerate in Wrath anyway, the initial hit of lacerate counts as bleed damage. So it would be boosted by mangle if there's a mangle on the target. So not having that 30% extra from mangle would hurt. If there isn't another feral in the group to apply mangle for you, lacerate itself will do less threat, which is unfortunate. So it's like the way that it kind of looks to me is that bear tank threat will only be at the same level as the other tanks if you have a feral DPS in the group as well to apply mangle for you, so that lacerate can have higher threat.
Well, yeah, I agree and disagree, and the only reason I disagree is actually because Go's mentioned that he's such a team player that maybe Go takes mangle for you, and once a minute he goes in bear, he runs in, he puts mangle up for you.
Instead of Sunfire?
Yeah.
I'm not that much of a team player.
Well, maybe the Resto Druids that no one care about. Maybe we can get them to take mangle. Because
Resto,
they're only losing wild growth. It costs too much mana anyway.
Yeah.
They're not going to use it. Get mangle. And then they can forget we'll forgive them for not taking 5 of 5 improved Mark of the Wild then, and they can get Furor instead.
Perfect.
And they can become the mangle bot. I mean, I'm not being funny. If anyone's in our Season of Discovery guild on EU and you're playing a Resto Druid, you've just got a new job. just putting it out there now.
I would just say that because of having to make that choice between mangle and lacerate, like any bear tank should take lacerate instead of mangle. Lacerate overall is going to end up being higher threat gen than just mangle. It's just it'll be less threat if you don't have a mangle in the group as well. So feral tanks are in a weird situation compared to the other tank capable specs, in that you need more support to be at your maximum capability, and none of the other tanks have that issue. Like paladins don't need somebody else to like boost them so that they can have better threat. You know what I mean? Like the feral tanks are the only ones that are in that situation where you need another feral, preferably as DPS, to apply mangle for you so that lacerate can have higher threat gen. It's just unfortunate. So
can we just this is a bit of a wild thought, all right? And you can shoot me straight down because I know you've been doing far more feral sort of diving into Season of Discovery stuff than I have. But let's say me and you was on our ferals together. Actually, is there a world where you would have mangle and I would have lacerate even as feral? Because you get it in cat form and it replaces claw.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty
DPS
sick.
In the glove slot, feral DPS will, it depends though, because I've been messing around with other stuff too. If you have 2 feral DPS and a feral tank, one of the DPS takes mangle, one could even take Sunfire instead. Depends on what affects Sunfire. Like if for some reason they give it a like an attack power mod, I don't think they would, but like you could, like you get it in cat form. It replaces Moonfire with Sunfire Cat or Sunfire Bear. So like you could use it in cat form, I suppose. So like, you know, one takes Mangle to boost the other's Shred and the tank's Lacerate, and the other one takes Sunfire and just full board DPS the whole way through. Like you could do something like that, but like again, like that's, you know, that's 3 ferals in a group. If it's a 10-man group size, you're gonna have 3 ferals in a 10-man. Like seems kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like even 2 ferals in a 10-man seems a little excessive. That's why I'm saying like it's feral tanks. I don't think will be as big of a player on the tanking scene in SOD until we get to the bigger raid sizes where it's more likely that you're gonna have duplicate specs.
Hang on, no, I was reading the next one down, by the way. You can ignore me. It is Lacerate is only Bear. I was just looking at it. If you look at how this is lined up, because I was thinking, hang on, that's not right. Actually, can you see where it's Lacerate and then gain? Yeah, I ignored that bit and was like, oh, you actually get it in cat form as well. You don't. It's just Bear. So ignore me. That was me. Just, I mean, I blame the tooltips. They're not lined up properly. Because that's why I just started doing extra research and I was looking at Lacerate because I was like, I don't remember reading that before. You know, when I was reading the actual tooltip. So yeah, don't worry. Just scrap that.
None of the other classes give that Mangle debuff. Like Warriors don't have something that applies where 30%.
Not yet.
Okay.
Arms Warrior get it down the line. Yeah, you know, yeah, as in they do get it. Well, they got it in Wrath, you know, Arms Warriors. But so who knows? I mean, maybe it would come from a rune later on where you can get it in other ways.
It could be.
But Sunfire, that was an interesting. That's an interesting one as well.
From what it looks like, it'll be 40 energy in cat form. So it's like basically, you know, I don't know how often you would actually want to press. It depends. Like we'd have to get in there and see. Like because I didn't see any, but like there were some feral cats that I saw on the BlizzCon footage, but none of them had Sunfire, so I didn't get to see how it affected things. But you know, with the tick system and everything, if you're going with Shred, you know, it's three ticks before you can Shred, 2 ticks before you can Mangle or Sunfire. Like, if Sunfire itself doesn't do enough damage, like if the damage per energy isn't like significantly higher than Shred, then it's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
And even the bear form is 20 rage for it. Like that's a lot of rage, but it's a 30-yard range currently.
Yeah, it's basically a pulling tool. Like the only way that I could see a bear wanting Sunfire instead of Lacerate or Mangle is because at 25 we don't have Fairy Fire Feral yet, and you want like a ranged pulling tool. And Taunt is back to melee range in Vanilla, whereas like people who are playing Wrath currently are used to ranged taunts. It's not it's not like that in Vanilla. In Vanilla, it's melee range taunt. So it's like you would have to like, but also like if I'm gonna be like, it's so expensive. Like Sunfire Sunfire Bear is so prohibitively expensive that I would rather just drop form, hard cast a Wrath, and then go Bear and